My name is Carl Brooks, and I am a business coach here in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. So I grew up in Exeter in England, the southwest of England, and it's actually quite a nice town. It's near the coast on the southern coast of Devon, and about 3 hours drive away from London. So it wasn't really a big city, but it is an old Roman city. And yeah, that's where I grew up. It's a very nice part of the world. And actually, it's part of the English Riviera where a lot of tourists, particularly British tourists, come to stage in the summer. So, because it's so close to the coast and the forest and the nature of Dartmoor. Yeah, my mother was a sufferer of bipolar, which is commonly called manic depression. So yeah, she had a very difficult childhood, and as a result of her depression, it also had a huge impact on our family. And we spent, me and my brother, we spent quite a lot of time looking after her. My father worked in the evening, worked at nights, and he was a driver, and so he was away a lot in the evenings and at night. So there was a lot of burden on me and my brother to really take care of my mum. And it was heavy. It was really heavy going. You know, it was always kind of walking on eggshells and not wanting to upset her, because if you upset her, then she'd get angry, and if she got angry, she'd get ill. And the chances were, and this happened quite a lot, that she ended up in hospital for months at a time. So to make her angry or to make her not happy basically meant that we would be motherless and fatherless. So yeah, it was very heavy going, and it just meant that we were always making sure that she was happy, and yeah, it was really tough. It is a tough thing for any caregiver to look after an ill parent, whether it's a physical illness or a mental illness, and yeah, we've certainly felt the impact that had on our family. As a teenager, I didn't really rebel to it, because at the same time I didn't really know any different. I think that's the one wonderful thing, if there is one, of having a childhood with an ill parent, is that you really have very little comparison. So it wasn't really until I was about 20 or 21 that I decided that that England really wasn't the place where I wanted to be. And yes, it was certainly a moment for me to really reflect upon whether I wanted to stay there or be with my family and continue this caregiver role, or really just to start, my own life. And I really felt the calling of Europe and felt very connected with Europe. I used to love French and languages at school, so for me it was kind of a no-brainer to live on the continent and find some work there and really to establish myself in Europe. Yes, I moved to Amsterdam in 1992, and just before that I was working in Luxembourg for a French bank, and I decided in the weekends that I would go to Germany and Belgium and France, which were just across the border, and to explore the countries. And I remember coming to Amsterdam for the first time and just falling in love with the city. I mean, it was so beautiful, and I just noticed at the time that this is really the place I wanted to be. I found that Amsterdam, in terms of atmosphere, resembled England quite a lot, and yet at the same time, the mentality here of the people was very friendly, quite direct, but very open, and that really appealed to me. So I decided to stay here and look for work. So my first job in Amsterdam was working for a hotel on one of the canals, which is really beautiful. It was a private hotel, and consisted of 8 canal houses next to each other, all interwoven and all interconnected. And I was a night porter there whilst I was studying Dutch. So I was going to Dutch language school during the day, and at night I was the night porter of this beautiful hotel on the canals. And I felt a little bit like kind of like the king of the property of the hotel, because there was nobody there in the evening. It was quite a small hotel. And it was a really great time just to write down all the lessons I'd learned at school and kind of imprint all the new vocabulary into my mind, because the hotel was really quiet at night, so I had plenty of study time. And after that, I went to work for Air UK at the marketing department. And Air UK was a company, it just doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately, but it was taken over in the 90s by Air France and KLM. But at the time, it was just a really great position at the airport, and we used to go on the road and visit all the travel agents and corporate clients to encourage them to fly with us. It was a small team. I think there were only about 8 of us, so that was really nice because we got to do everything. It was kind of like a jack of all trades. The one moment we were driving around the country, getting prospects and leads to fly with us. The next minute, we were doing webinars or we were doing presentations to clients at the airport, or even to passengers to promote our services. So yeah, it was a really great creative time. Yeah, and after that, when Air UK was taken over by the KLM, I spent I think more than 10 or 12 years working for Air France KLM at their head office in e-commerce, and that was really the moment that I was introduced to websites. I mean, at the time, the internet was new and it was just out. So a lot of companies and obviously also the airlines, they were really looking for ways to create an online service so that passengers could really serve themselves and make the reservations online. But it was really in its infancy, which was a really exciting time to be, because you got to really create your own rules. I mean, there was no internet standard, there was no one way of doing things, and that's really when I got the excitement and felt the passion for learning this new art of e-commerce and online business. And after that, I got a position at a subsidiary company of Air France KLM called Transavia, also based at Amsterdam Airport. And there I was a web developer for their website. Over the years, we really improved it and added lots of different functionalities so that people could finally make their bookings online with ease. At the time, Transavia Airlines didn't have any mobile connection. Everything was on a desktop website, and it wasn't really designed to be used on a mobile. So we made an app which was obviously adapted specifically for smartphones, and everyone was really hands-on and really into that project. And we worked with designers in Ireland, we worked with the reservations technical department in France, so that people could finally make their bookings online and retrieve their bookings. It was fun, it was a really creative time. So what I realized is that actually when I was younger, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but there was really no one in my family who had done that before. So there weren't really many role models. I've always had a deep interest in coaching, and maybe it's because, as a caregiver of my parents when I was younger, that it really came naturally to me. And that's when I decided to do a life coaching course, a 2-year course, and I really immediately fell in love with the idea of coaching and mentoring other people. For me, the trigger to commit from working in the corporate world to become an entrepreneur was this deep-seated feeling that I had for many years that something wasn't quite right, that something was missing, and that I felt undervalued in the corporate world. I felt not comfortable. I even felt at times as if I was kind of dreaming this, as if I was having this out-of-body experience whenever I was in meetings or dealing with people, like I was putting on a role or a face, but it wasn't the face of my soul. It was the face of maybe culture, maybe face of my own expectations that I had of myself. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I did my job well, but it was just my soul wasn't filled. In 2013, the beginning of October, I woke up one morning with the left side of my body completely paralyzed, and I had no feeling at all or strength in the left part of my body. So I went to the doctors, and the doctor told me that the chances were that there was something in my head that they wanted to examine that was causing this. So I went to the neurologist, and within a couple of days we had an appointment and had an MRI scan. And the results of the MRI scan showed clearly that there was a ball in my brain the size of a small golf ball, which was pressing on my nervous system and causing the paralysis. So that afternoon we were admitted into hospital so that doctors can do some tests and plan a biopsy. And after the biopsy, they analysed the bacteria and found that it was treatable with antibiotics. And but it was a difficult time. I had to stay in hospital for 3 weeks, and fortunately, I did make a full recovery and walked out of the hospital on my 2 feet. Yeah, I find it really difficult to talk about it because there's a lot of feelings that come up about it, because it was a very intense part of my life, and even now thinking about it and stuttering and not being able to articulate it, because it was almost like an out of body experience. The entire 3 weeks that I spent in hospital and then the 3 months afterwards in recovery at home was a real trying time, because when you are told that you have a ball in your head, and it really impacts your life. In fact, at the time I thought my life was over, and I just really wanted to make the most of the last 3 weeks in hospital, and also the fact that I made a will and testament at the hospital. We got our lawyers to come in. I signed the documents, because who knows what was going to happen. There are no guarantees. There's no guarantees of any operations or biopsy or treatment. So to know that you are living with a growth or an abscess in your brain, and not knowing you're going to recover, is awful. It's devastating. It's devastating. I think the one thing that will really push me through is that I'd seen in my youth that what illness can do to people, and I didn't want the illness to destroy my strength of character. It can destroy me physically, but it's not going to destroy me mentally, because I'd seen how illness can destroy a person with my mother, when she had bipolar and mental illness, and how destructive it was to her and the family. But I didn't want that for me. Maybe subconsciously I just wanted to stay strong, and that was a determining factor, I think, for my speedy recovery. Yeah, and obviously afterwards, when I had made the full recovery, I went back to my corporate job, because that's where I was before. And but I realised that this really wasn't for me anymore. I'd been given a second chance at life, and I really had to pull my socks up and do something about it, because I've been basically asleep for the last few years, doing a job that I really wasn't using my full potential in, and I'd lost myself. I'd lost my way, and I think the abscess was the wake-up call that I needed. But it was difficult, because I still had a corporate job, and now to bridge the gap between my corporate job and becoming an entrepreneur, how to do that, I didn't know at the time. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what I needed. So there was a lot of fear in there, because, okay, great, now I want to be an entrepreneur, but how? Because I still have bills to pay, I still have a roof to keep over my head. How am I going to bridge this gap and become an entrepreneur? And prior to all of this and going into hospital, I actually started a life coaching course, and I was halfway through it when I went into hospital. So when I came out of hospital, I finished the course, got my certification, and took the leap into coaching full time. In terms of support, I was really lucky. I got a lot of support at home from JJ, my fiance, because we were engaged to be married, and also from friends and family who thought it was such a great idea to move into entrepreneurialism. Is that a word? Entrepreneurship. and become a coach. That's really what I wanted to do, and everyone was really encouraging me to do it, to take that step, and they could see that I was really passionate about it, and so that was really nice. I loved coaching. I really loved the idea of helping people to overcome their fears, to work on any issues that they had. It all came very natural to me. So it was a very good opportunity, I think, to exercise my innate skills. I felt very confident at coaching people. And I suddenly, after a few months, I realized that life coaching was great, but there was something else going on. I needed a new challenge, because life coaching comes quite easy to me. And the challenge was really, how do I integrate 25 years of marketing and communication skills and coaching? How do I bring those two together? Because okay, maybe work in the corporate world wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, but no, I still had this skill set, I still had this business knowledge, and I still knew how to build websites and do online business. So now to rectify the two of them, and then I decided that what I wanted to do was to become a business coach.